So like in recovery, and everything goes back to the same source. There's a sense for some people of like either a low grade irritability, restlessness, or discontent, or a higher grade. Yeah. So the higher grade may catch your attention quicker than the lower grade, but there's sometimes you can't recognize it. But if you looked at what you're moving towards, you could maybe see what you're moving away from. A lot of times. So sometimes people are really busy, and they think they're just busy people, let's say. But there may be that the mind is uncomfortable in the silence or in a sense of just being by themselves, so they have to stay busy so that that demon doesn't arise, yeah? Because there's a real fear, what am I going to do? Or we've been conditioned as these little action figures not to feel like we have any value and that we have to accrue value. And we don't accrue value by being, we accrue value by doing and having, basically. Yeah? So the being isn't really addressed as value in and of itself. It's like you got to add on, you know what I mean? It's like when someone buys a house, the next year they're adding on, and then another, it goes on and on and on and on and on. So a lot of times you may notice the moving towards, I really like to do this, but you don't maybe see that it's probably being boomerang from what you don't want to do, or something that you're a little concerned about. So if you notice when people don't have anything to do, they get really uncomfortable. Yeah. But in that point, if you didn't have anything to do, and you were familiar with a different state or a different realm, let's say the being realm, you could just sit or rest in the beingness of, being alive, like when you were a kid. Yeah. Like you didn't have much to do it. I played with my friend Wayne Griffith for about 3 years underneath my family's crabapple tree with like 13 plastic soldiers, like every day, and it just weren't bored at all. We were just doing our thing. Now people get bored in like 5 minutes, 10 minutes. So you can see, like, if you went to the beach and you watch a Labrador Retriever at the beach, so you throw that's why they created those things, those slings, because people's thrown out their shoulders with the love of their dog, because the lab will just go crazy getting the first ball, and the exact same level of craziness at the 500 toss. Yeah? Or like a little child was here, and I go, woo! And the little child would go, laugh, and you could do it like 20 times in a row, and they would have the same reaction. But as we seem to get older, we're like, something happens, I know that, oh fuck, I've seen that before. So there's like a muting of any of that little wonder and awe. Yeah? Unless someone can notice that I'm in wonder and awe, it doesn't seem that valuable, Like I can't, the value of a jacket isn't really that it's keeping me warm, it's if it looks cool in a lot of ways. So like, when I came into recovery in 1988, there was a thing they said, you got to be willing to save your ass instead of your face, but I thought my ass was my face, yeah? The image that I had of me was what I was living for, yeah? I wasn't living for it, but that was the living going on, yeah? That was what was being defended, that was what was saying, avoid this, do that, and this. It wasn't my ass, it was the face, yeah? So that's a production, the face. It's a mental image that's produced by the process I call it selfing. Yeah? And then that production needs a lot of parts. So what it does is, let's say right now we're not doing seeing, seeing is just happening. If your eyes are open, you're going to see. Yes, if you're alive or you're not blind. You're not, all right, I'm going to emphasize the seeing today. Not the hearing, just seeing. I'm going to be seeing. I'm going to see before I see that thing. I'm going to be seeing it. But you can't. The seeing is just like a big field, and then things arise, and then there's a noticing of what arose. Yeah. But when the information is collated up in the head, it's cast as you're the seer. Yeah. You, not as what you are, but as who you are. Yeah. And a mental idea claims to be the seer of not a mental activity. Consciousness is not mental activity. Yeah? Same thing with the feelings. You hear people share, something happens. I didn't want to feel that, but they felt it already. You see their position? The feeling shows up first, and then there's a reaction. But the reaction is juicy because you believe you're prior to the feeling. And that way you shouldn't have felt that. Yeah? I shouldn't have had that feeling. You know what I mean? As if you were the supervisor of all feelings. How did that get in? You know, I shouldn't have that feeling. No, a feeling happens, and then there's an interpretation of it as you're the one who had the feeling. And then part of that interpretation is you believe there was a possibility you didn't have to have this feeling. Yeah? And how do you track that belief down to investigate? What did I do, or what did they do to make this feeling happen? We investigate. What did they do to make this feeling happen? You see the insanity of it? Instead of, if you just saw the feeling, it would be able, that would also facilitate it leaving quickly. So the feeling would come and go, which is its natural movement, yeah? Not come, be frozen, analyzed, interpreted, and then make mental feelings out of it. Yeah, there is feelings arise, and then there's a lot of like pseudo feelings that are more mentally derived, where you think yourself into a feeling. You know what I mean? You think yourself into the feeling of being scared when there's no threat. That's all done by the mental activity. Yeah, because there's nothing that's coming at me to scare me. Yeah, but I'm afraid that there's going to be something coming out at me to scare me. Yeah, and then maybe 99 times out of the 100, nothing does, but that one time it does. I go, you see, I was right. I was right to be afraid that was something going to get me because something finally got me. But the other 99 times, you were just caught up in this illusory activity. Yeah, I like to see it. See, for me, I don't want to hear anymore what we are. I want to know what we're not, because that I can work with. Because if I can recognize the activities that I am deeming to be mine, or that I'm the one who's doing, if I'm not, find out what happens if you're not that invested in what's happening. Yeah? You may find that you travel lighter through what's happening. And then you realize, oh, it was my investment in everything that, like for me, in recovery, I found, because there's a great statement in recovery, step 1, where it says, hey, we were powerless over alcohol or drugs, whatever, and our lives became unmanageable. All right, but that sounds like cause and effect to me. It sounds like my drinking made my life unmanageable. Now, later on, I saw it in a different light. I saw my trying to manage was and part of my managing of trying to deal with life was drinking. See, that was my solution. What they switch around and say is the problem. It was my solution. Yeah? Because my managing life was what was making it unmanageable. And how I dealt with that was by getting loaded and checking out. Because I couldn't manage it into manageability. So I said, fuck, all right, well, I'm just going to ignore it or deny it or just fucking check out as much as possible. How did that work out? Well, I'm here, so that's seemingly anyway. So it worked out on one level, but I mean, it was sort of painful. It's a painful process. So people say, the problem isn't drinking, it's living sober. Yeah, that was the problem. I couldn't handle being here a day, how I was equipped to be here. I couldn't handle it. It was too much for me. So this statement in this guy, and this was a guy who was a devotee of a master called Ramana Maharshi. You ever hear of him? Famous man from India. And I really loved him because he got to live his whole life in diapers, basically. He just said, "What the hell with everything." He left his home when he was 11 because he had like a near-death thing or something. He woke up. He had this urge to go to this mountain in southern India, went down there, stayed in a cave for about 10 years, stuff like that. Then he realized people weren't getting the message just through silence, so he said, all right, I'm going to start talking. And he started talking, and he tried to point out that if you can't just feel the sense of being, well, maybe use this technique called self-inquiry to see what's taking itself to be the someone, the long-lasting, independent, separate entity. If this is sort of a back way to get to the feeling of being, if you're not that, you may be the feeling of being. Yeah? And so that's what he put out there. And then tons of people, lots of people came with different takes, and he would talk on whatever level they were on, but he would keep trying to emphasize that you are already what you're looking for, yes? That you are that which you're seeking, that you are already, in a sense, realized. So here this guy's talking about his teachings, this man, because he was with them for many, many years, and he just said, simply stated, the problem, not one of the problems, but the problem, simply stated, the problem, I'm reading it again, it's great, is that there is a perception, to me this is the sense of self. So when an action happens, I perceive that I'm the doer. Yeah? When a thought happens, I perceive that I'm the thinker. It's a feeling, yes? It's a sense. So, is that there is a perception that there is an individual self which wants to extinguish itself. What is drug addiction but that? Really, what is drug addiction in that? There's an individual self that wants to extinguish itself with the hopes that there'll be a self to be there. You know what I mean? I'm going to try to get out of myself, and I'm going to run with the devil, and hopefully I don't die before I succeed. Yeah? But you can't succeed because you can't get out of an imaginary place. You can devote your whole life to drug addiction. You're not going to transcend this place because this place isn't real. That's the dilemma. Yeah. So, simply stated, the problem is that there is a perception that there is an individual self which wants to extinguish itself. And for us, most of us, we don't want to extinguish ourselves. We just want to clamp down what we think is causing us disease and irritability, and then just add some good shit on, but we still want to be the basics take we're having, which is fine. I don't think you can't graft spiritual ideas to a physical and mental idea. It won't work, So that the state of realization will be revealed, but anything which this individual self, see, this is the conundrum. All right, sounds good. Yeah, I'm going to go do shit, and then I'm going to extinguish the self, and then I'll be free from the self as a self. Sounds a good plan. Yeah, but he says, okay, so he says, so that state of realization will be revealed, but anything which this individual self tries to do to eliminate itself merely prolongs its own existence. This is what they say in recovery: a self can't get out of self. Yeah. You're prolonging the existence or the seeming existence of self while you're trying to get out of it, because you're reinforcing the belief that you're in it. Yeah? Not realizing you're the main player in this whole game. That something isn't being played on you, you're participating. Mind is big M. Yeah? So the mind, if it's caught in the idea of being a self, trying to get out of a self, that's never going to work. This is what they've said over time. They've said it in recovery. It's just a simple axiom that can save you a lot of time. So, yeah. So he says that's the problem. So for me, that rang true from my own experience. Yeah, I went into recovery, and I had a history when I was younger doing quote unquote spiritual stuff. Went into recovery. My life started getting manageable outside. Yeah, and so. But I still had that irritability, restlessness, and discontent quite a lot. I could see that I was seeking a lot, doing a lot of shit just to keep myself busy and everything like that, which was fine, but there was something that I thought there was other possibilities that were around if I could only open up to them. So I started going back into spirituality when I got sober, and I was looking into things, and then I came upon this message, and I heard it, from a lady, and it clicked, It was to me, it was like an unspoken yes, something new before I even heard it, But I needed to hear it to remember I knew. That was the trick, I already knew it, but I needed to hear it from some outside source to remember I knew it. I wasn't remembering I knew it because I was remembering the self way too much. So I entertained it, and then by entertaining it, I don't know what happened, who cares really, but the head moved its little location, its little the aperture left its little automatic opening and started exploring other openings. What would my life be if it wasn't mine, or stuff like that? What I mean? It was quite opening. And so it opened up, and in the opening up, that's when a lot of the information about the problem was truly revealed. Not from the problem, but from the solution. So I started getting really nice, a sense of relief from the problem. And part of that relief is I got downloads about the problem. I could see it. Because I had been living it, but I hadn't seen it. Yeah? Now I was not living it, and I could see it in a way. Not living it as much, let's say. So information kept downloading, and then when I went back to old things I used to read, like in the big book or other things, my mind illuminated the book. The book hadn't changed, obviously, but the information had a lot of value there that was pregnantly available, but it needed to be incited, And so my mind had been triggered, and it was inciting the information that's been readily available, just like this stuff. And so I went, and then I would entertain, and more would be added onto it, and it actually produced less shit. the more that was added on, the more streamlined I became, and I started losing interest in areas I didn't think I would lose interest in, like spirituality and other things. I didn't think that was coming. But that's what was downloaded, and that's what was happening, so you go along with it. There's nothing, you can't resist it anyway. There's no one there to do it. So you just have to go with what's being revealed. Yeah? And so I came back into recovery, because a lot of people I know who've gotten excited about this message, they leave recovery, and they go off, and because those meetings and this and that, they're always in the problem. But that wasn't the seed assignment. My seed assignment was, hey, I'm going to start sharing it, because I have an affinity to people who've suffered with alcoholism, because I suffer from it. So, blah, 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 blah. So we do these talks. And for a while I was doing it on the false pretenses. There was supposed to be this 4-step workshop that comes from recovery, but no one was writing anymore. I was just going on pontificating on self. You got to see the exact nature of the wrong. All the other stuff is like dilly-dallying. It'll produce effects, but you want a radical shift? Let's see the exact nature of the wrong. So I had to stop doing it with any kind of affiliation with recovery, because so I morphed into these meetings. And you don't see that many people in recovery here, which blows my mind. It really does. Because when I share at a recovery meeting, they love what I share, but when I tell them to go to Zen Bitch Slap, I never hear from them again or see them. I don't know, it's a strange thing, It is. And it's happened a lot over the years, so it's not like just a phenomenon, it's pretty much a pattern. So, all I did was, my head is sort of like a pit bull. This was it. This became the last answer, and it hasn't let loose of it, and it doesn't give a shit what happens, because it knows beyond knowing that this is it. This was the key I needed to open whatever doors are going to open, not by me, but by allowing the doors to open. This was the key. This is the key that unlocked the locking mechanism of all the doors, which aren't on the doors; they're on you. I was locking and keeping everything out. So that got unlocked, and then information just keeps coming in. And then sometimes it's not information, it's just energy and everything like that. But the certainty grows, and then that unspoken yes becomes your pillar in a way, becomes the foundation. No one sees it, you don't have a bigger house, you don't have a lot of money, you don't have any prestige, but you have what you can't have, You have it by giving it away, which is in the living of it. So you're living it, and that's how you have it. But there's a certainty around it that hasn't been able to be moved in the last 15 years. So no new answer. I haven't gotten a turbocharged edition of this answer. I don't need an extreme edition of this answer. I don't need to mix this answer with a lot of other answers to make it a more profound answer. It's an answer that keeps on giving the answer. You know what I mean? It just does. It's a deep. I don't know if it's infinite or not. I don't think I'm ever going to run through it. It's always available at all times, right where you are. And the mind, in my case, finally found a place to land. Yeah. Even while it's flying, that's the landing. Yeah, because you're always in it. There's no act that you have to do to be in it. Yeah, you're always in it. So while you're busy, while you're not busy, it doesn't change that. Yes, come down. What about non-dualistic being airlifted? showed some signs of self, and he had to go to intensive care. Yeah. Let's pray for the non-him. So, there you go, Steve. Take care. Good luck. Steve got his non-Steve. So, and I've gone back to it quite a lot, because a lot of shit's happened in life. Yeah. Yet, whatever shit's happened, seeming shit, of course, everyone will say, well, there is no shit or non-shit, I know, but, when the apparatus, it hits the apparatus splits it into good or bad. That's what goes on. So the interpretation doesn't end. You're just not the interpreter. Yeah, people think, oh, what are you going to become, like just a blissed out? Maybe. I haven't seen it yet. I see it that the apparatus keeps on trying to produce a sense of self. Yeah, does all its thing and interprets things from a point of view of self. All this goes on. Yet there's an aspect of mind that's not a participant in that. It never has been. And I would say we're more of that. Some people call it the witness, but I don't like that. But a witness means that they're not involved in any of it, yeah? Which I like that aspect. They're not involved, they never were, they never will be. There's an aspect of mind that's quite similar to that, yeah? That's available while the other activities of the mind moving through a brain are occurring. Because the mind moving through a brain produces mental processes, yeah? And mental interpretations of life. Yeah, the mind itself is all of life. Yeah. So one doesn't negate the other. They can both. One is appearing in the other, and it's totally okay that it's appearing in the other because it seems to be appearing. So I would see there's no argument there. But what occurs where the lightness comes from is not smoting that and killing that and stopping it in its tracks. Who would be doing that? It's about losing interest in it. Yeah? Like this man said, this guy who was speaking in this essay was talking about this teacher, and he said the whole thing with this teacher was he wanted you to leave the mental realm and then just rest in the beingness, yeah? Not to try to use a mental solution to the mental problem. Yeah? So if you follow, and his feeling was that whatever's going on, be it mental, physical, this and that, if you follow it back to its source, they all go to the same source, which is being. Yeah? So, if you use the mental realm, which would be self-inquiry, asking questions like, who is it that's worrying about next week? And just opening up and see what happens, is that maybe that aspect of mind will get shook out of it and just go back to the fallback mechanism, which is being. Yeah? The being is where there's the relief from the mental process, not all this mental chicanery. You get little bits here and there, but the real relief can't come from the system that you're being bothered by, yeah, or that's producing the problem. Yeah. So he would say, take whatever system it is, and go back to the source. That sense of onness that's undeniable. Yeah. Something is seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and touching, and I'm putting out that it isn't a you. It's just seeing, hearing, tasting, touching. I don't know what the hell it is, but it ain't a body. It ain't a thing. Yeah. And that is the sense of being. And how is the sense of being produced? Through the seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, and other things. So that thing that is now being, yeah, in manifestation. It's participating in one level in this event by driving the whole event. Yeah. So in that driving, whatever's going on, whatever's manifesting, you can take that manifestation. It's like tying a string to a mouse. You'll be able to follow it back to its hole, because it's always going to go back to its hole sooner or later. So if you tie a string to the manifestation, it's always going to lead you back to the non-manifestation, let's say. Yeah? So the content will bring you to the point where it runs out of content, and then you're at that threshold of the context. And you're that, yeah? But here, the thing that happens is when people go, all right, I'm the context, but they're trying to be the context as a part of the content. You take the content back until it runs out of space, which it is going to. It's a finite event, yeah? And then it's an imaginary border and there's all there is. And you're of that, yeah? So if you get a flavor of that, and how I got the flavor of it is by losing interest and attention in like the Baskin-Robbins of the mental process, the 28 fucking different flavors, all based on vanilla, let's say. They put different cream colors in it or whatever. Same, it's the same ice cream, but wow, it's just so different, but it's the same. So you follow it back, and you see, I'm not that, you're going to run into that, which you are, because you cannot not, because everything leads back to that, let's say, metaphysical Rome. All roads lead back to Rome. Well, all manifestation leads back to what's not manifesting. It can't manifest as itself. It can manifest as all of this, but it can't manifest as what it is because it's not of thingness, So in a way, it's not manifesting, but it's actually what is manifesting. So if you follow it back, you're going to follow it back, and then you're going to feel something or sense something that's not of a mental process. That's where you rest. That's the sense of presence during your day. You're not sensing your presence, you're sensing the presence of being. But the mental process has hijacked that feeling of being and uses it to point to it's you that's being. You, as this idea, a mental idea. So something that's stagnant, that has no life in it, is claiming the life force. And then now it's using that basis to riff on being the owner and haver of everything else. So that we can pontificate about what shouldn't have happened in our lives. But did it happen? Then it was supposed to happen. But we'll just dismiss that and just sit days talking to other people, getting huge phone bills. Oh, I wish that my whole life would have been different if that didn't happen. Of course it would have. But you have this assumption it would have been great. It may not have been. It's just like with the knee. I hurt my knee January 6th or something in the water surfing. It wasn't the surfing that did it either, and it wasn't me that did it. It was the knee. The knee was old and it was hurt, and it finally acted out to a point where I had to it grabbed my attention. And so I had to deal with it finally. So now let's say my mental process starts thinking about my condition as a body. Assuming the body implies me. All right. So then it thinks about January 5th. Man, everything was great January 5th. And everything was great all the days before that. Then January 6th, I hurt my knee. And now, it's been 3 months. You see how the thought system adds time to it? It stretches it out. I've been rehabbing for 4 months now. Now, the feeling of being, let's say, uncomfortable in the body right now is nothing like if you've been uncomfortable in a body for 4 months. It's a much heavier thing to be carrying around. Where did that weight come from? It didn't come from today. It came from the mental process, adding and subtracting and building these little things that you get to be the owner of, or the haver of, or being identified as. See it, man. See the head. You're having a good day. How long does it last before your little head says, when are they going to find out? When do they find out I shouldn't be at this party? I don't deserve this, or whatever. When's he going to realize I'm an asshole, or something like that? But the same head, if it feels bad, goes, this is the beginning of a lifelong depression. I know it. And I've been depressed for quite a while now. It just came to me, and it just king. I have it. I saw this friend of mine in Australia. He had this beautiful girlfriend that he wasn't paying much attention to. And I was there a few times in Perth doing talks. So I saw them interact a lot, and he was just denying indifference, basically. And then one day she decided to leave. So I get a call from him, and he says, the source of all my happiness has just left. And I said, wait a minute. She wasn't the source of all your happiness the 2 years you had the happiness, But now that it's gone, you don't see the peculiarity? Now that it's gone, your head breaks the news to you that she was the source of all your happiness. You don't see that's a little manipulation? You know what I mean? I mean, if it was the source of your happiness, you would have been getting, I'm diving into the source of all my happiness, get as much as I can. But suddenly, you have no idea. But when it's gone, this is all made up. The head is taking this opportunity, which maybe is like a 5-string guitar playing a lovely little ballad. It's added a huge symphony. Building crescendos every day. Oh, this is going to have this. How many earth-shattering events do you have in a week? And does the earth shatter? No, it's his head. Yeah, to me, it's just I've had it with it all. Something had changed, I guess, enough in me that I was willing to be disinterested in it all. I really was. I was willing to be convinced, and this message convinced me that I'm not that. Yeah, I'm not that which is the perch for all those crazy ideas to land and to spawn and produce more branches. I'm not that that was here and that's going to be here. Yeah, I'm not that. Blah 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 blah. On and on and on and on and on. And in that condition, I get to find out what I am. Yeah, every day. It doesn't tell me what it is. I just get to find out because I'm that. Yeah. So there's a great way of taking it. Let's say you take hearing as far back as you can. Yeah. So let's say you sit down and there's sounds outside on the highway. Yeah, you're hearing them. You can hear that guy with the shovel over there. And it seems obviously this sounds like it's distance. Yeah. The mind produces space and through time, yes? It's a dreaming, yeah? This is a dream in a sense. So I hear that sound. All right, I'm going to bring back, all right, now I start hearing something else. Let's say I hear the frequencies inside what I call my head, yes? I go back as far as there. Now, let's go back. Can I hear anything more than that? No, that's the farthest I can go. What the hell is hearing that? What's hearing the sounds in my head? Yeah? It can't be, if you follow the axiom of great master Huang Po, he says whatever can be perceived can't be perceiving, so it can't be the body that's hearing that. Yeah? It's facilitating the hearing, but it can't be the body because this can be perceived. I can see it. Yeah? So whatever can be perceived can't be what's perceiving. Okay? So you take that as a little axiom, go back. All right, so you listen, you hear your heartbeat, you hear like the joints and everything, then you start hearing frequencies maybe, and then what's hearing that? Obviously, that what's hearing it can't be heard. Yeah? That's you. What's seeing everything can't be seen. That's why it's seeing everything, because it can't be seen. Yeah? What's seeing everything can't be seen. What's hearing everything can't be heard. What's feeling everything, it cannot be felt. Yeah? That's what we are. We're not something that can be seen, felt, heard, tasted, and touched. Yeah? This is a body. This is a thing. What's seeing everything is not of thingness. Yeah? My eye is not seeing. This eye is like a lens, like a camera that facilitates seeing, but its premise is totally based on life moving through it. If there's not that energy moving through it, the eye cannot see. Yeah? And if I died and someone took my eye out and put it in a live body, it would facilitate seeing. Yeah? So it's not the eye that's seeing. It's not the ear that's hearing. You may think it's you, but you is a mental idea that can be perceived, because you've been perceiving that idea for quite a while, where there was a period of time in this life you weren't perceiving it when you were a baby. So this mental idea came up in the experience of this manifestation of bodyhood, and then you bought that idea to be what was doing everything. But it's not what's doing everything. It's a mental idea that can be perceived. Yeah? So if it can be perceived, it can't be what's perceiving. So you take it back, and maybe you get left with, there's no fucking idea. How could I ever get there? Exactly. That which can be perceived cannot get to what's perceiving. But you realize you're not that which is being perceived, and then maybe you'll get a hit that you are what's perceiving. Yeah? So instead of just being the camera box, you'll be the light that's moving through it. Yeah? Instead of thinking, I'm all the lenses, I'm all these sense mechanisms, I'm all of that, yeah? You may get that you're what's moving through all the sense mechanisms. Or what we call spirit, or whatever. Something that's not embodied, it's not an entity, it's not an idea, it's not a feeling, Yeah? It's not a thing. Yeah? It's not a concept. It's not of time. So you can narrow it down and maybe see, so that which I'm feeling, that I'm calling Paul, maybe what's feeling that isn't Paul, it's the other side of the feeling that I can't know, yeah, as Paul. All right? So I give up the crazy pursuit to try to know what I can't know as Paul, maybe start knowing what Paul is, and if I'm not Paul, I may be that which can't be known. Yeah? I may be that which can't be known. So some old methods was exactly this. They call it neti-neti, which was not this, not this. So you just keep seeing what you're not, what you're not, what you're not, and then you may be left with what you are. Yeah? So we're just seeing what's the central point that's causing all the, let's say, the disillusionment, all the discord, or all the distortion in how we're seeing, is the idea that we're the seer. Yeah? So if maybe you're not that, which is that idea gets incorporated in being the body, maybe you're not that, you'll open up for you to receive and be able to recognize in an intimate way what you are by its manifesting through this place. Yeah? So like Jesus says, you'll know the tree by its fruits. You can't know the tree you got to know it by its fruits. So, and a good tree cannot bring forth bad fruit, and a bad tree cannot bring forth good fruit. You'll know the tree by its fruits. You'll never know the tree, because you're the tree. You can know the tree, in a way, by the fruits that are appearing through you in this experience. Yeah? You can see, all that's seeing can't be seen. All that's hearing can't be heard. All that's cognizing can't be cognized. All that's thinking can't be thought. Yeah? So maybe you'll give up the freaking ghost of trying to know what you can't know, and then give it up and know what you can know, which is what you're not. Like this one master from Japan said, Dogen, a Japanese Zen teacher. It's much longer comment, but I don't remember it, but the beginning of it was, the whole study of Buddhism is to study the self, as we picture it, the small s, yeah? Why? Because if you study the self, you'll forget the self. Because one of the things that's going to dawn on you is you're not the self. And when you're not that, what's going to happen? All the interest and attention that goes to that, because you take it to be you, will dismiss, will take off, will be able to take off and move away from that preoccupation of you all day, and maybe you'll expand, go into this whole bigger deal. Yeah? Who knows? Find out. What happened with me has been pretty interesting in so many different ways I could never imagine. Yeah? But I could never have figured it out, but I can figure out what was stopping it, what was blocking it. And what was blocking it was an incredible active obsession with this idea of being a self. Yeah? Incredible action. Unbelievable. Yeah? I mean, huffing and puffing and blowing up these dolls all day that have tons of pinpricks that keep leaking, and I'm a surfer, but now I don't surf anymore. What am I now? Oh, fuck. There goes that I had. You know? There goes that. That's what happened when I was younger. I was just a house painter, and I wasn't that interested in that. That was the only hat I had. But then I was a spiritual practitioner, which I thought I was pretty good at. So that was my only hat, the two hats I had. The one didn't seem too valuable. Then I heard this message, that hat went. I'm not a meditator. I'm not a retreat goer. I'm not this and that. I got left with my little pants down, and for some reason I didn't try to pick them up, and it was the greatest beginning of it all, right there and then, because I realized the mind's constantly grasping, trying to get an identification, so that it's sort of like barnacles that need a rock. Yeah, all this activity, which is just free floating, there's no one doing it, but if there's a mental idea, a rock that you're the doer, then they can grow on it. You know. And then you spend your time trying to pick out the bad barnacles and polish the good barnacles. But the light of the barnacle is based on the rock it's attached to. And the rock is the idea of being a long-lasting, independent, separate entity. Why not go to the rock instead of trying to find better ways to pull barnacles or, teach them not to go whatever it is. But you know what I mean? You ever see boats where they have it? They do those cleaning so they can move through the water. The boat's still the same, but they just took all the shit off the hull, and now it moves quicker. It saves a lot more time. It travels lighter, let's say. Exactly. Yeah. That's the whole essence of it. It's not comparing it to any other way. Any other way is any other way. Who cares? But this to me isn't a path to illumination, but it will illuminate whatever path you're on. Just like it will illuminate the gliding. It will illuminate, me going through this knee situation, because it's not me. So it illuminates that. It'll illuminate wherever you are. So in other words, it's not in any argument with any path, because it will illuminate any path you're on. Yeah? You're not choosing the path anyway. Your predilections drive you to certain places. Yeah. I'll give you this one more thing. I used it the other night because I love it. I saw this nature show about the mushrooms. Yeah? The cordyceps mushrooms. You ever hear this? You gotta give this one to me. So there's a mushroom. I think it's from the cordyceps family. And the mushrooms, like everything else, want to propagate. Yeah? So they have spores. That's their seeds. And they have a very, very dicey system to propagate. It's based on a lot of variable, like something coming by and getting a spore stuck on it, or wind, or like that. They can't really place their seed where they want to place it. So they have an incredible idea. The spores go out, and then they land on ants, yeah? And they get to the ant head somehow, and they burrow into the ant head. They jack into the poor little ant brain, the navigational system, which would be called selfing in us. And now it tells the ant that the ant wants to go to a dank, dark place. You know what I mean? And the ant, that's probably not the best habitat for an ant, but it's the best habitat for a mushroom. Yeah? So now the ant is used for transportation. It takes it to the dark, dank place. The parasite that's in there kills the ant, and then the mushroom grows right out of its head. Now, if you're an alcoholic and you see how many of us and addicts have gone to institution jails and death, driven by, and every step of the way thinking we're the one who got us there, maybe the same thing happened to us with alcoholism. It's a mental parasite. It jacked into this system, and it takes us where it takes every alcoholic, There's a couple of different locations, but for some, many get funneled into institution jails of death. Yeah, you got to see that's like the dank, dark place that the mushroom likes. The alcoholism, the parasite of alcoholism, doesn't like sunny days with a lot of sporting events. It doesn't. It doesn't like that. It wants to have you so isolated and have you so fly-papered in this world that you can't see you'll ever get out of the court dates, you'll ever get out of the freaking probations, everything like that. So it has its way with you. Or not you, but this possibility. In other words, it's living more through you than you are. Yeah?
I've been thinking a lot because I've been listening to your tapes a lot. Most stuff I need repetition.
Yeah.
And I've been thinking a little bit about things as a consequence, which are later defined as a problem by our mind. But before they were the consequence and the problem, they were the solution, because there was a purpose for them to be there. And if you want to think about your story with the 10-step guru in your tape, as a guy who's stuck in that place and doesn't want to give up the AA thing and move up the chain and look at selfing being the problem, okay?
Yeah.
Then we're going to step up the chain a couple times and be where we're at today, defining the problem as this long-lasting belief in a self. What was the purpose of that being the solution of having this figment of the imagination that we're a long-lasting self? What's the purpose that brings the self into manifestation? Is there another step above that other than just being?
Well, you lost me somewhere in there, but let me just see.
Well, it was a parable, between an analogy between the 10-step guru and where we're all at today, discussing the issue of letting go of the selfing and the concept of self to be more at knowing what you are by I'm not that, and I'm just going to be content with being.
Yeah. Well, it's not like. Well, I know it's the language. You don't mean it, but there's no you that just wants to be content with being. But the being is contentment.
But what about the self, or the necessity, or the
I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I have no idea. It may just be the game being played here. So, what would make something, if you were playing a game, what would make something really valuable that you lost it, let's say? Yeah? Or let's say you suffered immeasurably. And then when you got relief from it, then it's something that you may have just walked over you really value. You know, could be a lot of different things going on here. It's like a movie in a way. Yeah. So who knows why? I just know that the mental process for me, let's say, overdeveloped, and then instead of having a free-flowing awareness of senses like hearing, feeling, tasting, the mental sense got more developed. Yeah, it was always ruminating over what I saw, heard, felt, and tasted. So most of that became the dominant. For some reason, my interest and attention got sucked up there, seemingly for quite a while, and I needed relief. Yeah, and so the relief took me to places where I hoped that would work, and then I gave up and I ended up washing on the shores of AA, and I found that worked the best in a way, and I wasn't even looking for it. Yeah, which is sort of one of the typical ironies of this place. Yeah, everything you think is going to bring you somewhere don't, and then what you never would have thought brings you there, it brings you there. Yeah. So then I got into AA, and AA gave me a simple idea what was the dilemma, and the point is, like your apparatus, we all have somewhat of a drive to have an equilibrium, yeah, a sense of well-being. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So there's a basic, the action figure has a programming, yeah, to have a well-being, and that programming, in some experiences, can be developed to the point where it's realized it's got to have to question its own action figurehood for that well-being to occur. Yeah, that's like one of the many places you can end up. That you're going to actually question the thing that wants to get to a sense of well-being. Finding out you're not that, it can be pretty scary in a way, to that which you're not. Yeah. So your activity of mind, wanting relief, may sort of get to a point and make, oops, I wish I didn't hear this, and try to backpedal out. But like Ramana Maharshi says, your head is in the tiger's mouth, it's too late. So now you heard something that is maybe the last answer, well, that's it. You know, you may want to dance around it, but inevitably it's probably going to dawn on you. Yeah?
Well, you can't forget it once you're back.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what happened with me. It was the last answer, and then at first I was glowing with possibilities. Then it got really ordinary. And then all the pangs and attachments of the mental process got really, really clear to see, because they weren't getting fed. They weren't. I didn't have I gave up my big possibility of being a circus speaker in AA, and now I'm doing little dinky talks that no one understands. My popularity went down when I was doing these things in AA, these workshops. I had these beautiful babes every night in front of me. Could have picked any one. I had blinders; they don't see that. And then people would say, "You know, that girl really likes you." Oh yeah, well, whatever. Because I had a message, a point, you know, and I've always had that, driven by that idea. But as a career choice, it was a bad choice. It really was. And it's made even worse because it come out of AA, so when people do come to meetings, they throw $1 in the basket. Where the other people are getting $20 a meeting, or $15, I'm getting $1. So I got to sell T-shirts and shit to subsist in this process. But it goes on like that. So, but I don't know what. All I know, like Buddha said, he never wanted to talk on metaphysical points. Yeah, you don't want to have any debates or anything like that. Basically, he just said, "Do you feel irritable, restless, discontent? Is there some suffering? If there is, let's look for the source of it." Yeah, if you look for the source of it and recognize it, that's like the right diagnosis. There's ways to entertain, or no things to entertain that will give you relief from that, and that's really the point. Yeah. You don't need relief as what you are. You need relief from what you're not. And yet, it looks like we're using the exact thing we want relief from to go work on getting the relief. You know, that's the point, isn't it? So you're using the mental process to questioning itself with the hopes it doesn't get onto what's happening, and then they're both going to, negate each other. Yeah? You know? Now, most mental processes that are built to survive wouldn't buy it. So most of us have been driven here through grace or through circumstances to go to the last house on the block and say, hey, The relief is more important. Right now, my ass is more important than my face. Finally, I need something. And also, if you've been bitten by the possibilities, I've always had, since I was a kid, I had possibilities of big stuff. Not of this place. I've always had a leaning towards that. Yeah, and they seem more real than anything that's ever happened here. The possibilities I entertained when I was a child. Yeah. I never took this place to be real. It's too insane to. It's like, if you look at movies, what movie has ever beaten, if you're gonna describe or have an outfit for a bad person to wear in like a scary movie or a science fiction movie or a supernatural movie, what movie fashion director ever beat the Nazi look in World War II? The SS with the black trench coats, with skulls and crossbones and lightning bolts and fucking leather down to the ankles. I mean, Star Wars isn't even close to looking like that, yeah? This is the best movie of all. I mean, talk about bad. No one could have ever come up with the bad that's happened here. I mean, it's freaking levels of unbelievable insanity. If you ever look, just go to the internet and just check out sex trafficking around the world. Millions of people are getting moved around the world. Sex traffics. They have auctions over people. Strange people know other strange peoples, and they have strange internet sites, and they have auctions for people they've gotten in Guatemala, some young girl or boys, and they buy them. Yeah. This movie has got the most incredible shit going on of any movie that you could ever imagine.
Knocking at your door.
What?
Careful when the internet police come knocking at our door.
It's insane. I mean, it's insane. I was always interested, and I go to missing persons, just in America. You know how many missing persons are in America? It's hundreds and hundreds of thousands more. And how many, it's like 1 out of 3 murders are unsolved. People are getting away with murder every day here. We're thinking, you'll never they're getting away with it like crazy. Look at the government people. They kill massive amounts of people, and they get book signings, and they get offered $40,000 to do a commencement speech or something. It's insanity. How could this how could this be real? I mean, if we were really an organic thing that evolved to a point that we could have some wisdom and everything, how would we let this go another second longer? Yeah. So, in a lot of ways, a lot of things insinuate something to me, and that's that. It doesn't mean I have any agreement with it. You just see that ultimately, if you've ever passed away in this life and came back, which happened to me, there's a distinct feeling that nothing ever happened here. Like, there's not going to be any memory of it as you. Your voice box is of the body. That thing that's talking to you in the head, yapping away, that is of the body. When the body dies, there's no more yapping. Yeah. Who knows what's going to go on, but it ain't going to be you. It's not going to be going on to you. That's for sure. Yours like something you've been wearing for 70 years. It's going to be discarded, and what you are is going to walk right out of it. Who knows where that's going to go? It may get into another uniform, but you're not the uniform. So that's it, eh? Yeah.